Death and breath, they're my topics. Lots of fun. But actually, before we talk about death or breath, I'm looking for Dean. Is he here? Because I have a confession. I can't run. I never really could. I think it's one of the reasons I had so much time to study music because, I tried to play basketball and soccer, and I was awful. It wasn't only because I lacked any natural talent. It was because when I tried to run more than a few yards, I felt like I was going to faint. And I did on numerous occasions. I found out why when I was diagnosed with PH. I also found out that I would likely die within the next 2 to 5 years. And this was kind of a shock to me because I think it would be a shock to anyone. I received the diagnosis and I was coming to peace with what my doctors at Kaiser had told me when they sent me to a top specialist. And the first thing that he wanted me to know, with everything else that there was to know, was that I would never live through a pregnancy. I couldn't have children. Now, this picture is my family. There are 11 of us kids. And you can imagine what a shift in thinking it was to think that I would probably have at least a few babies, to knowing that I would never have any. And reconciling this innate need that we each have to create with my newfound and imminent mortality made me ask a lot of hard questions. The first thing I realized was that we all need a baby. Maybe not a cute little fat one, even though they're really fun, but we need something that we can conceive, that we can nurture, that we can build, grow, and create. I always knew that I would have more than one baby, and I do. I sing, I compose, I write, and I share what I do. There is something deep inside that pushes me through the pain and the exhaustion and the disappointment to create something of beauty. It's the same thing that pushed my mother to bring up 11 of her own children and gave her the energy to go through when she knew she couldn't any longer. It's the same thing that pushes us to innovate and think in new ways. My question was why we band together in societies and build great monuments to ourselves, build cathedrals to God and to education. Why we get on a ship and sail into the unknown. Why there is this indomitable creative inertia that pushes us to do more than anyone ever thought was possible. My question is, what if this thing that drives us is what we fear most of all, this thing that makes us want children and success, the thing that drives us to innovate? What if the creative spark is death? Lots of people die young. In an opera, we're kind of obsessed with death. I knew that if I died young, I would be in incredible company, and that I had certainly had enough time on this beautiful sphere of blue and green to accomplish something of value. We're gathered here together as a family in thought to find new paths to live longer and better lives. But in the face of the absolute knowledge that each of us will die, my question is, why are rates of organ donation so low? When 90% of us say that we support it, why is this last act of compassion and genesis only embraced by 40% of Americans? Before you do anything else, before you exchange cards with your neighbor or check your email, I want you all to pick up your smartphones or iPads. I want to see those screens light up this opera house like a U2 concert. Don't be afraid. And if you could go to Facebook and you go to your profile, there's a place that you can list a life event. Click on that, and one of the options is to list that you're an organ donor. I'm going to ask all of you to post that you are organ donors, and once you have done that, to tweet it. And if you're not sure that you're signed up, you can go onto the Donate Life website and figure out either how to sign up or if you're a donor already. And when you go home after this conference is done, I want you to talk to your friends and your family and ask them to do the same thing. Because when we reach mortality's ultimate destination, you are probably going to leave a life full of wonder. And hopefully your legacy will continue beyond any invention or child or business that carries your name, your nurture, or your genes. Because there are children and families. There are ideas and inventions. There are cures and lives that depend on each of us understanding our responsibility to one another beyond life. I stand before you today because of two mothers. One who bore me and raised me and fought tooth and nail to keep me alive. And because of one who saved my life. Because when she died young, her daughter, who was a little younger than I was when I was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, knew that her mother wanted to be an organ donor. Once our souls pass on to their next estate, we can leave a legacy even beyond our progeny. In death, we can leave hope. We can give sight. We can give life. As we try to outsmart death, as we seek immortality, there is a way that our hearts can go on beating and our lungs can go on breathing. There's an old saying that life's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But my mom once told me that life's not a marathon, it's a relay. So when you round mortality's final bend, pass the baton. Thank you.